Well, week 2 has arrived, and the other AFC showdown is on the horizon. Last week, the Dolphins escaped from Foxborough with a 17-16 victory over the New England Patriots. Pair that win with a Jets loss, 19-14 to the Carolina Panthers, and Buffalo's 23-16 loss to the Steelers. And Miami sits alone in the driver's seat for the AFC crown, Dave Hyde.
All right. I don't think that's happened in decades. I know somebody tweeted it out. 1,000 days or something.
It is early. It is week 2, but plenty of football is left to be played. And we're here to discuss that on X's and Omar. This week, Miami has a chance to stake some serious claim in the AFC East by hosting the Buffalo Bills, the team that a lot of people are expecting to win the division. Well, this is Miami's opportunity to start division play 2-0. Dave, is Miami ready to challenge for the crown?
Oh, challenge for the crown. Yeah, that's different than ready for the crown. Who out of it in May, right? But of the other 3, who would you crown right now? Buffalo had a bad week against Pittsburgh. New England lost. Although it looks like they're on track with their quarterback. And the Dolphins, look, they won in Foxborough. Who looked pretty good, Omar?
You know what? I think people are overreacting to Buffalo's loss. This is still the same Steelers team that went 12 weeks without a loss last season. Yeah, they're a little bit older. They've had to rebuild their offensive line, but they're a Mike Tomlin coach team. I mean, the worst record that they've had during the Tomlin era was 8-8. And let's not forget that they hired him in 2007 when Miami unfortunately chose Cam Cameron over Mike Tomlin. But this is really a situation where you have the opportunity to show people you're on the same level in the same league as the Buffalo Bills. You've got them at home. If there was an opportunity to take a victory from Buffalo, it's this week. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As we know, you built this team to beat this division, to win the division, and that means to beat Buffalo. So the question is, how well did you build it?
Oh, look, I'm not dismissing Buffalo. I didn't mean to suggest that, Omar. Look, maybe the best team last week in week 1 might have been Cleveland as far as answering a lot of questions and at the same time showing that they aren't mature enough in week 1 to take down Kansas City. But they played very well, and if they grow up a little over this season, they're going to be a contender for the AFC. So Buffalo, everybody has them in the upper echelon for rightful reasons. If the Dolphins win here, they're 2-0 in the AFC East, and really 4-0 because they play the Jets twice. And so, as you said, this is a big step for where this season's going. But to crown them after 2 weeks, no.
Alex has our first question. What's the biggest concern for you following last week's game against New England? The offensive line or the run defense? What's easier to fix this season?
Yeah, that's my answer. Yep. I am. Look, five plays into the game, Raekwon Davis goes down. Your best defensive lineman, the guy who demands a double team, who's he's inching closer to stardom, and this season you'd hope would do it. Now it's off to a bad start for him. He's on IR, can't come back for 3 weeks, so we'll see where that goes. But look, the offensive line too, 3.2 yards a carry. It didn't lose you the game, but by now you're hoping, and I get New England's very physical up front and all that, but you're hoping that some Sundays this offensive line can start to win you some games. Look, Austin Jackson's out. Liam Eichenberg goes to left tackle, and he played okay. I mean, considering the difficult situation they put him in, he didn't lose you the game, which is a good start. He played okay.
Difficult situation. He was playing the position, and he's played like 38 starts at Notre Dame before. I don't know if that's a difficult situation, and he proved that it wasn't too big.
Whoa! He hadn't played there since Notre Dame. All camp, he's playing right tackle and then left guard, and now he has two practices at left tackle in 9 months.
Three.
That's a difficult situation.
Yeah, but it's going back to your natural position. I think that he proved that the job isn't too big for him. And in fact, I liked what I saw from Solomon Kinley in the first game. And I'm a Solomon Kinley critic. I think he's the weakest link on the line, and he didn't play like that last week. So I would think that the run game is easier to fix right now. I do believe in Myles Gaskin. I do believe in Savon Ahmed. I think they have a ton of talent and potential. The question is, can this offensive line create holes for him? And I do believe that they are better than what they showed in the first week. Now, as far as the run defense, not sold. Never been sold. It still doesn't make any sense to me that why they cut Benardrick McKinney, even though he hasn't found work in the NFL. This is week 2. Veteran salaries aren't guaranteed this week, so he should be able to find work. But Landon Roberts, is he all the way back from the knee injury? And to be honest with you, I need to see a physical presence at linebacker, and that just hasn't been there right now.
Yeah, I mean, New England, 393 total yards in the game, and they controlled the ball almost, a little over 37 minutes, I believe, or a little under 37 minutes. And so, but if you're going to ask which line, yeah, there's questions on each line, and certainly in the first month of the season, you'd like to clear up some of these questions.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins had a shaky run game for the first half of last season, and shaky run defense. So, to say that week 1 is a disappointment, no, it's just really status quo. Let's see if they get better and improve. Blaze has a good one, Dave. Miami's only real offensive success came on the first drive of the game and the first drive of the second half. Should we be worried about play calling or offensive capabilities down the stretch if the only success we have is scripted first drives?
Well, you know what? I think you can turn the question the other way. Should you be excited about the play calling in that the plays, they can pick out mismatches during the week? Okay, here's what we're going to do. At halftime, when they have time to adjust, they're picking them out. So you're getting good coaching. I mean, that first drive of game, first drive of second half, the question is, okay, when you need playmaking, okay, for lack of a better term, is it all there yet? And that'd be the question. But the play calling, scripting is play calling, okay, and picking out mismatches and working on those. That's good coaching. So I turn it the other way. That I have questions of playmaking at times right now. But that one game.
Yeah, we're talking about one game. I think the operation was pretty smooth. I don't have there's one thing that I'll never do throughout my career, and that's really sit there and second guess and criticize play calling, because we don't know all that goes into it. We don't know what Belichick was taking away from Miami, and a lot of times, a lot of those plays are RPOs. So Tua decides whether or not it's a run or pass. So it'll be interesting to see how they play against every other opponent, because as we often say, Belichick is going to, identify what your limitations and your weaknesses are. And really, I didn't see that many areas of weakness, because they didn't really attack that many areas of weakness. All they did was really take away Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I wrote after the game. Then I went and I looked at the play count, and Gesicki played roughly a third of the plays. I think it's 36%. And Durham Smythe played 70%. And Hunter Long played over 30% too. So, maybe he was nicked up. I don't know. That needs to play out a little more. But I was surprised. Gesicki, I thought he was taken away by Belichick, but he was really just as much taken away that he wasn't in the game very much.
Yeah, well, one-dimensional tight ends. That's kind of what happens, Dave.
That's something to follow. Our next question comes from Omar. Marcus, you think Will Fuller makes a great impact in this game? he's needed because it was only a two-man show with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker.
You know what's interesting? Everybody has these expectations that Will Fuller is going to be some dynamic weapon and some dynamic talent. And yes, he was the biggest offseason addition that Miami made, signed to a substantial contract, a one-year contract, so he's a one-year rental. But if I had seen him practice or seen him catch passes from Tua, I'd probably be more excited. I've seen Will Fuller for maybe a practice and a half because of his injury, which will get revealed today if he's on the injury report, which is always a mystery. Injuries and durability has always been a concern for him. He's starting out his career in Miami injured with durability concerns. He didn't participate in the offseason program, so it's not like we've seen him work with Tua. So I think chemistry will be a factor, but does it make sense to go into the game with 5 Will Fuller plays that you call and execute sort of to get him greased up and going? Yes. But do they need him? In my opinion, they really don't. We didn't even see Gesicki come into the equation last week, and I think he's the third best weapon behind Jalen Waddle and Devontae Parker. We saw what Devontae can do on those slants, which is a staple of the RPO offense. People have to understand. That's not let's call this play for Devontae Parker. No, that's a staple. When Tua gets a certain look and Devontae gets a certain coverage, they run a slant, and Devontae's supposed to give you run after the catch yards, and that's what they were doing. It works, and Jalen Waddle is that speed player. So, if they had connected on some of those big plays that they called for Albert Wilson, we'd be talking about a completely different game. But, defenders get paid money too. Now, would Will Fuller be an Albert Wilson role? Probably, but I'm not sure he's actually deserves that. I think it'll come down to who practices better in the week.
Well, Will Fuller last year had, I believe, the greatest separation from defenders in the league. I mean, the margin of separation from defenders. So he gets open, and even if he doesn't get open, his speed is something that's going to back the defense up and let other people play in areas and space that probably isn't going to be there without him. So I think he's a big addition for a team that a year ago didn't have much speed, and now you got Jalen Waddle and you got Will Fuller lining up, and they're as fast as a tandem as any receiver probably can line any receivers in the league. So to me, that's a great component. As far as Tua threw 2 great passes at Alabama, the slant and the deep pass that you saw him throw twice, one to Waddle, one to Devontae Parker, and it looks like they're playing to his strengths when they run plays like that. Okay, Miami escaped New England with a season-opening win because Xavier Howard forced a fumble and recovered it in the red zone. But if it wasn't for that turnover, we'd likely be looking at a fourth-quarter loss because the Patriots were in scoring territory, eating up the game clock. As usual, the Patriots pummeled Miami on the ground with the run game. Dolphins struggled running the football, finishing the game with a 3.2 yards per attempt average. Since Brian Flores got here in 2019, there's been talk about putting a physical football team together, but the Dolphins have been anything but that in 2+ seasons. Omar, what's standing in the way of Miami shedding this finesse reputation?
Well, let's be real about it. There isn't much of a team left over from what Brian Flores inherited from Adam Gase, but Adam Gase had a finesse team. Now the question is, can they become a physical team? They've certainly put in a ton of the resources to do so. Every offensive lineman on their offensive line is a former tackle, except for Michael Dieter, who's a guard, who had played tackle. Everybody's huge on that line. Now the question is, why is it that they cannot move people? Why is it that they cannot get consistent movement with tandem blocks? I really have no answer for that. Now, certainly in terms of the run defense, Raekwon Davis suffering that injury on the 5th play of the game, as you said, was tough. but they've got defensive linemen to overcome it. Adam Butler, Christian Wilkins, Zach Seiler. They have defensive linemen. John Jenkins had to step up and play a lot for Raekwon Davis. He's a proven, established veteran. To me, the question comes down to the linebackers. And right now, I'm not necessarily certain, outside of Landon Roberts, there's anybody that I could label a physical linebacker on that unit. And they've got to play physical for you to be a physical team.
Yeah, you look at the linebacking core of New England. Matt Judon, Dante Hightower. They're all 6'3", all 230 to 245, and they're very physical. And you talk about where the Dolphins probably need to either find somebody, or like in a Landon Roberts. Landon Roberts played, he had good moments in Sunday's game. But overall, the physicality of that front seven, and we mentioned it, Raekwon Davis. I was so disappointed to see him get hurt, because that was the guy. Still there, he's out for at least 3 weeks, but it was just a disappointing start. Okay, yeah. Skynard 991 has a good question, Omar. If the Dolphins beat the Bills in week 2, can you consider them the team to beat in the division?
Yeah, I would consider them the team to beat in the division. If you dethrone Josh Allen. Gosh, Josh.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I wish it was Josh Rosen. If you dethrone Josh Allen, who has played sensationally against Miami, even in his one loss to the Dolphins, which was a pass in the end zone that Charles Clay dropped his rookie season. The Buffalo Bills have won 5 straight games against Miami. Josh Allen has been ridiculous against the Dolphins, Dave. And so if you do find a way to pull off this victory, if you do find a way to take a 2-0 lead in your division, I would say that you are the team to beat in the division, as long as you keep pace.
Yeah, Josh Allen, the last 6 quarters, because if you remember last year in the second half of the finale, when Buffalo had won the playoff spot and they had really nothing to play for, he sat out. So 6 quarters last year, 42 of 60, 641 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, 136.9 quarterback rating. So
he's had 136.9. Jesus Lord.
He's had the Dolphins' number of late. Now, that offense struggled against Pittsburgh last Sunday, when Pittsburgh did something just completely opposite what the Dolphins do. They blitzed once on Sunday, meaning that as far as rushing more than 4 players, they dropped 7 back. Now, it was a different 7. Sometimes they rushed the left side with 4 players. Sometimes they rushed a defensive back, linebacker, and 2 linemen. But the idea was they dropped typically 5 into a short coverage and had 2 safeties deep. So, and the interesting thing was Brian Daboll and Josh Allen never really seemed to acclimate to it or adjust. And now they've had a week to think about that. So obviously that same game plan isn't going to work. But the question is there some secret sauce like that to confuse Josh Allen? Of course, what the Dolphins do is blitz a lot and play man-to-man a lot. And the back end, their man-to-man coverage was very good on against the Patriots, which,
Who did the Patriots have? They got nobody. This is a totally different animal right here. This is Stephon Diggs. This is Gabriel Davis. This is what's the slot receiver name? They got weaponry out there. Yeah, this is Emmanuel
Beasley.
Sanders.
They got Beasley in the slot. You're not putting Nelson Aguilar in that category?
No, no. Nelson, if I could give the YouTube look, Nelson Aguilar. Listen, Buffalo probably, arguably, has the best receiving core in the NFL. and it can be debated, but they're top 5. Different animal. But I do hear what you're saying in terms of Pittsburgh's strategy, and I think the Dolphins have gone that route as well. I'm not sure it benefits you to blitz Josh Allen and sort of rush him out the pocket, flush him out the pocket.
Yeah, the difference, of course, everybody's going to point out, look, Pittsburgh had T.J. Watt. Okay, you just signed a big contract, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hurries. The Dolphins don't have that singular player. Unfortunately, if you remember the 2017 draft when they took.
Ouch, Dave. Ouch.
Can we say that? Is statute of limitations run out? Charles Harris.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, let it go.
T.J. Watt, 30th.
Let it out, Dave.
I did. I got it in there. T.J. Watt, 8 picks after Charles Harris.
Ouch. Yeah. Listen, I think the strategy for defending Josh, the Dolphins and Brian Flores' team and Josh Boyer, they have been here for all of those Josh Allen explosions. So it's on them to come up with a game plan and a strategy that can show us that, hey, we're not all just going to lay down against the creme de la creme of our division right now.
All right, Alex asked Omar, why did Miami not run the ball more last Sunday? In this RPO scheme, is it on the quarterback to make that decision?
Yes, it is on the quarterback to make that decision. And a lot of times it's based on what coverages they show and what he sees. I would think based on just Bill Belichick's thought process, he would like to make the Dolphins one-dimensional, so they gave them a lot of throw looks. Now, if you do that against Tua hasn't really proven that he can beat you with his arm, so it probably played to their strengths. I mean, last time Bill Belichick was playing against Myles Gaskins, he clobbered him for a tremendous game that led to Miami's victory. So I'm pretty sure that was a factor of something they wanted to take away. Now the question is every opponent going to play you like that? And honestly, yes, we have the 3.2 yards per carry average, but if you take out the 3 kneel downs and the end of the game series where they're basically trying to kill clock, and props to them for doing that, because running a 4-minute offense is not easy when a team's trying to get the ball back and finishing the game with the ball. That is one of the biggest accomplishments you can have in the NFL, where you can get the ball with 3 minutes left, a team full of timeouts, and actually finish the game with the ball. So props to them for that. But if they had taken out those kneel downs, I believe the average would have been like 4.1 yards per carry, which is nothing to, poo-poo. I thought Myles Gaskin and Ahmed, they had some solid runs. I've seen them play better. I know how hard they work. I think that they're going to be an effective and efficient run game for this team. So I think that there's more on the table, more meat on the bone for this RPO offense.
Yeah, and I agree. Belichick said, okay, we're going to take some things away, and let's see Tua throw deep. Remember Tua last year, 6 passes over 25 yards in the air, and half of those were in the finale against Buffalo, where they're way down and they're just flinging the ball over the field. But in the opener, he had 2 passes over 30 yards or more. One 36 to Jalen Waddle, and 130 to Devontae Parker. So that was an element. You look for progression. There was some progression there that okay, you're going to give me one-on-one with a receiver out wide. I'm going to go that way, and I'm going to complete that. I'm going to let the receiver go get it. So, but this if we're on this side of the ball right now, Buffalo has a very good secondary. It's certainly top 5, maybe top 2 in the league. And so the question with Buffalo is, can they get pressure on the quarterback? And Greg Rousseau did some in the preseason and didn't in the opener, and we'll see what they bring on Sunday.
Yeah, they got some Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes, Star Lota. I can't even say that. But they've got some pressure players, and it'll be interesting to see how this line holds up against the pressure that Tua is gonna be under. This is a different animal, a different opponent, and you definitely talked about it. They got some good cornerbacks. It's a good secondary there. Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White. their safety, that Levi Wallace. It'll be interesting to see how this defense plays Miami. I'm not sure that you can take what the Patriots did and say, oh, that's going to be the blueprint for how teams play the Dolphins, because I really don't think it is. I was quite surprised and sort of curious to see that, Belichick wasn't blitzing a hell of a lot. But I expect the Buffalo Bills to play Miami completely different. So it'll be interesting to see what that scenario brings. Chris has our next one. Is there anything specific that Josh Boyer can do to emulate last week's Steelers victory over the Bills?
Well, again, what Pittsburgh did, and let's carry this a little more. A year ago, Pittsburgh flustered Josh Allen too. Okay, this wasn't a one-game, match. Last year, Josh Allen, I think, had a 75 quarterback rating against the Steelers. And now he had like a 85, 86 last week, but he was flustered. And the philosophy of the Steelers is I don't want to say opposite the Dolphins, but one of the teams that blitzed the most last year. Pittsburgh blitzed once on Sunday. Okay, and now, where it matches up is it was often a schematic rush. They were rushing, as I mentioned earlier, four guys most all the time, but the four guys were different, all from the left side once. I think the first play of the second quarter, they had two defensive linemen, a defensive back, and a linebacker blitz. That's the type of creative rush that the Dolphins like to do. So there's probably something similarity there, but as far as the fundamental base of Pittsburgh dropped back, as I said earlier, five guys almost in a shell in taking away short patterns or at least covering them, and then they had two safeties deep. So the Dolphins play a lot of man in the secondary. So not a lot of overlapping philosophies, but the general idea of creative rush and
how do you handle all those pick plays that they're going to run? And obviously you're going to start with defending Stephon Diggs with Xavier Howard, which coincidentally has not shadowed Stephon Diggs. Obviously that is a philosophy that the Dolphins have not wanted to follow, and maybe you need to give that some consideration for once.
Remember who was put on him in the second game of the season last year, right? We started exactly the same way. It was Noah Igbinoghene was put on Stephon Diggs a lot in that game, if I remember right, and that did not work out.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they play them, what kind of coverages they use, and whether or not you're blitzing. Backups were destroying the Dolphins. Isaiah McKenzie was killing Miami. That loss taught us just how far the Dolphins were from contending for the AFC East. An off-season later, South Florida's NFL team, did they get any closer? They added pieces, including Justin Coleman, to specifically address and play the Buffalo Bills. Now the question is, Dave, how much have they advanced?
I agree. They took. They brought in some defensive back, Justin Coleman, the rookie Holland. So you see. But the Dolphins' philosophy is to build from the back end forward and invest in the secondary. And so, look, Isaiah McKenzie isn't going to have that big a game this week, I don't think.
What about Gabriel Davis?
I know. So I think they're safe there. But this is a match. Defensively in the passing game, because New England has almost a plodding offense at two tight ends, no one who you're scared of at receiver. Buffalo can beat you a lot of ways very quickly, very deep. And to me, the question isn't that, though. It's not how do they take away the routes and the speed. It's do they get any rush on Josh Allen? Where's that going to come from?
I don't know if it's safe to flush him out, but this leads us to our next question. Mo Money 76 wants to know, is the key to the game making Josh Allen throw the ball 50 times?
Yeah. Tell me what was 50 times, 5 touchdowns. I see what you're saying there. But because Buffalo doesn't have a great running game, okay, they're basically like the Dolphins. No, people, you look at their running backs and you say, what's that? Now, I like Myles Gaskin. I get it. I like him more perhaps in a James White role than in power running role at times. But it's the same with Buffalo. They have the FAU running back, Devin Singletary, he's not going to strike fear into you, but in the right offense and system, and if everybody's paying attention to the passing game, a functional running back can be pretty good there. So I see the question. If they make Josh Allen one-dimensional, can he beat you? If he's one-dimensional like he was last year, though, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen throwing the ball 50 times with those receivers is a recipe for disaster. Yes, you want to shut down the run, but you want to stop Josh Allen scrambling, because if you remember, he's beating you with his legs time and time again. So to me, contain him in the pocket. I would love to see Seth drop 7 and force him to throw. Now, if he's got all day to throw, you're in trouble. So I think this is a big game for Adam Butler. This is a big game for the pressure players, the Emmanuel Ogbahs, the Jalen Phillips. If we can put a line together of Adam Butler, Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah, Andrew Van Ginkel, if you could get them pressure with 4, I think you've got something to work with. And we'll see. We shall see. Phil asks, what can this defense do to slow down Josh Allen? They haven't been very competitive against him in the Flores era, and that's as I said, just to piggyback. To me, it's about containing his running, not their running ability. Containing Josh Allen, and we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. I think a spy is a good approach. Now, what player is suited to spy Josh Allen? Maybe Jerome Baker. I think we've seen him do it in some instances. I think he might have done it in the season finale. But then that takes away whoever's covering your tailback. So there's a number of ways that you can cut down that tree. The question is one of those ways gonna end up with that tree falling on your car?
This is a game where you talk about discipline in rushing lanes and all that is very important, because nobody was worried about Mac Jones running last week. Okay, now you get a completely different quarterback in Josh Allen, a gun for an arm as opposed to an average arm. And he can beat you throwing deep. Last year he showed renewed accuracy in throwing short, and he can run the ball. So there's a reason why people were picking Josh Allen to be MVP of the league, and this is it. And he's had success against the Dolphins, as I said, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception over the last 6 quarters in 2020, and so. To me, though, you got to get some rush on them, and was my number one question about the Dolphin defense coming into the season. And in games like this, it's my number one question. And I'm not saying sack them. I'm just saying get some pressure to make them a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, move and throw on the move, or it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if there's a great strategy, and as you know, I'm a big Dave Ball fan, and then Ken Dorsey's out there, so I think they've got a great offensive staff. Jesse's got our final question. Double Stephon Diggs and make everyone else beat us sounds like a plan. I think the Bills are pretenders this year. What do you say, Dave?
I don't think they're pretenders. I think they showed last year that they they rebuilt in a different way than the Dolphins. Their first year of the rebuild, they made the playoffs. Second year, they took a step back. And then last year, they went to the AFC title game. So They have done a very good job of winning and building, and they picked the right quarterback. And so I don't think they're pretenders. Now, are they mature enough to build on last year's success? That's what we're here to find out. And did they add? They picked 2 pass rushers with their first 2 picks. Does one of them step up and provide really what the defense needs? That's what we're going to find out. But as long as Josh Allen plays like he did last year, you can have a mediocre defense, you can have a mediocre running game, and you're still going to be a team that, with that receiving core and Josh Allen, you're still going to be a team that strikes fear in most teams on Sunday.
Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley, and our man Isaiah McKenzie. That's a scary receiving unit. I'm sorry, but they're scary. There's a lot of speed there. And the Dolphins, they added Justin Coleman to address the physicality that you need to beat a Cole Beasley. Are they fast enough on the boundaries? Is Nick Needham going to be attacked in this game like he was in the season finale? These are things that you have to figure out, and I don't have the answer to them right now. But Stephon Diggs, there is a solution there. There is a fix for that problem, and that's have Xavier Howard shadow him. Xavier Howard, as we've seen, this is a different level player. He's single-handedly responsible for your victory last week. This is a different level player, and different level players rise to the occasion. And I think that this is an opportunity that you have to show Stephon Diggs that, hey, you're not going to run shot on Miami Dolphins all season, every season.
What about the other side, Omar? What does Tua have to do? We haven't really talked about him in this Buffalo game. I'm curious.
I just think Tua needs to stay within himself, play within himself. The only fault that I can find in his game last week was the interception that he threw on a ball that he was trying to throw away. Pressure moments, I need him to perform a little bit better. And I'm not talking about pressure moments when sacks are coming or pressure is in his face, because with that line, you're going to face pressure. On third downs, teams are going to blitz you. You just have to play better in those instances. And I think he has it in him. The question is, can he do it on a consistent basis? And we'll see. We'll see. We will see. We'll see. And if we don't see it, we'll see Deshaun Watson. So it's pretty simple to me.
Yeah, what I didn't like I get why Brissett came in to run the quarterback sneak. I'm not sure what the second play of that was. And I didn't like the Wildcat. It's like gimmicky. Are these tells or what's going on there? So
I love the Wildcat. And you know why I love the Wildcat? Because it forced Belichick to guess and figure out. It wasn't something they expected. They didn't expect it. And the coach Belichick, you got to keep that man guessing. You got to keep him on his toes. If he's just standing there looking,
you think he would have flashbacks to 2008 when they put the Wildcat out?
I did. Yeah,
break out in hives.
That was clearly the only time that he'd ever been really outcoached by Miami. Every other game, it's been Miami wins on a fourth quarter play. Well, the Wildcat was a beatdown. So yeah, it does create hives for him. I thought it was a good wrinkle to throw in there. I certainly didn't expect it.
All right, prediction time, Omar. Who you got? You were 0-1. I'm 1-0 after week 1. So let's go.
Are you really celebrating that?
Hey, I gotta celebrate when I can.
Yeah, good win. That game could have gone either way. I picked them to win because it was in Foxborough, but I thought the Dolphins had the better team. This week I'm going with Buffalo again, picking against the Dolphins because Buffalo does have a better team. They've got better weaponry, and I think they've got good coaching. And they're a little bit hungry. If they had beaten the Steelers or are probably feeling good about themselves, maybe they would have came in here and underestimated Miami. But I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. Only factor in my mind is the heat and humidity. Will the Bills wilt But I think it's going to be rainy. I think it's going to be one of those rainy, muggy kind of days.
Is that what the weather's saying? I haven't even looked at the
Yeah,
weather.
they're expecting rain all week, man.
Well, I'm going to go the other way again, Omar. And you took one of my central ideas. Winning in September is difficult in South Florida. And no matter, even when the Dolphins haven't been good, they've done pretty well in September and early October. And so I'm going to go 27-24. Dolphins, I think they, come from behind as Buffalo wilts in the fourth quarter.
This is your opportunity here to take a 2-0 lead on me, Dave.
Yeah, this is a big week for us.
I would celebrate that because I think if the Dolphins start 2-0 on the season, where a lot of people were expecting them to start 0-2, this is looking like it's going to be a playoff team, and that would certainly make me happy, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't happen to be in a playoff team either, but when I went through the week by week here early in this season, I thought, okay, they've stolen the Patriots game here, and all of a sudden, look, Jacksonville. Cost them and will cost them many games if they do stuff like that at the end. So I thought they were fortunate to get out with a win in Foxborough, but anytime you get a win in Foxborough, you take it. And now this would be a big. You go 2-0 against both AFC East opponents, and
Absolutely.
This would be a big game.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Dave, to talk some Dolphins football. X's and Omar is brought to you by the Sun Sentinel. We will hear every Wednesday at noon. You could find the replays on any site that you listen to your straight to podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify. Always take your